Hello and welcome to another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. And today we have MJ from Spooky Tales. I am so glad to have her on the show because we've been meaning to have her on the show for a while now, and it scheduling and things happen, but I'm glad that we finally have NJ with us. Hi NJ, how you
Yes.
doing?
I am
How are
good.
you
How
doing
are
today?
you?
Good, good. Can you tell our
I'm great.
fans about your podcast?
Yeah, so I am half of a Spooky Tales podcast where we talk about Latin American folklore, legends, myths, times history, and true crime. You can find us anywhere you stream your podcast. Just search a Spooky Tales with an E in front of spooky or visit spookytales.com.
Awesome, awesome.
You've said that more than once, I can tell. Very trained, very
I
precise.
have. I am constantly on I'm constantly doing guests on other podcasts.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And the
A lot.
reason why you're here is because we heard you on another podcast talk about this same movie. So I couldn't, you know,
Mhm.
I heard it. I enjoy that podcast, and I was like, okay, we haven't done this in our show yet, and it's one of my favorite movies. Um, Ray, you watched this movie a long time ago too, just like me, right?
Oh, I saw it in the cinema, yeah. I mean, you look. We were having a conversation off pod about the names of things and what they sort of mean when you first hear them. Of course, you know, anime names and light novel names are ridiculous when they translate it. But the name of this Cowboys and Aliens. You go Cowboys and Aliens. Wow, that's a concept. I want to see this. So yeah, I had to see it at the cinema. Hey, GM, you made it.
Man, technology is like the avatar. When the world needed it most, it vanished. I'm connected on my phone with 2%, okay?
I love
Is it
My
from
computer is still loading up.
Is it from the Fire Nation?
I think so.
We just stamp you with 100%
computer's
pure
still
chaos and
booting
just
up.
go with it now, GM.
And for some reason, my phone is not connecting to my Wi-Fi. Let me see why.
And Ray, how we call Geo now? Master of what?
Chaos. Lord of Chaos. We got to say that with the deep voice. Lord of Chaos.
Okay.
And he's frozen. There you go.
There you go. Perfect place to be frozen. For all of you who are listening and not watching the video, yeah, you have to go watch the video. Awesome.
Gian's got his serial killer look on and he's frozen.
It's called anxiety, chronic.
Oh, he's back.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move on to our first segment.
Define science fiction remnant.
And you know what time it is. If you listen to our podcast, you know that in this section, what we
I
ask
cannot
for,
believe it.
if
It's
you want
gonna
to be
be
on our show, all you have to do is describe us to someone you know that loves sci-fi that have not heard us yet. And for this segment, I have typically I only have one person, but I have three. Um, so we got our good friends Lee Zimmerman from sci-fi-history.net. He says a nice deep dive into the thoughts and ideas focused on a single film each episode. How do you guys feel about that? Does it
Yeah.
match
not
us?
too shabby.
I think so.
I kind of like that. It was right on the point. Very short and sweet. So thank you, Ely Zimmerman. We really appreciate the engagement on Twitter. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And of course, we have Angelus.
Angelus.
he's always there, man. So we really appreciate it, man. His comment made me feel a little, happy.
A little happy. Do you
Yeah,
hear, Angelus? It was not enough happiness.
he says, if you want to listen to a radio station, but have the host talk sci-fi instead, these are the premier podcasts to load up. This is Sci-Fi.
That's my dude. Never met the guy face to face, but he's my co-host on the Elite Army live
I
stream.
know what you're talking about. That's
Radio
your dude.
Chaos.
And
He's
we-
my, well, we call them mates down here, but I'm trying to be a bit, hip American for you.
In the land down under,
Yeah.
in the future.
Well, if you want to see Angelus' face, we got the premiere. He's in one of our episodes. So
Yeah.
when it comes up on YouTube. And finally, we have Sophie. She's one of our new listeners on Twitter. And I really appreciate all the engagement. She says, this is what I'll say to someone. If you love sci-fi, then get your ass over to wherever you listen to your podcast and put on Sci-Fi Remnant, because they talk about lots of great movies and TV shows. You might even discover something new. Thank me later, friend. I like that.
Great or great?
Great.
Some movies are great.
All the feels.
Yeah. So there you go. If you like to get a mention in our future shows, just hit us up on Twitter. You can use the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi, and just tell us how you would describe us. So let's move on to the next segment.
Oh my.
We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is Sci-Fi.
And on this segment, we're trying to bring attention to a hashtag. You hear me talk over and over in every episode about this is sci-fi hashtag is a place where you could join up and talk to your friends about sci-fi. If you're a creator, if you're a fan, just follow the hashtag, post on the hashtag, and we can all learn from each other, get new things from each other. The comments that I keep on hearing so far is the great discovery that is happening. So I like to always mention it. The conversation of this week, I don't know if you guys have been in it lately, but the conversation, even today, that was a great conversation. One that I can point out right now is coming from Prophetwalrus on Twitter, when he's asking us, what do you think about in the movie? Hold on a second, I have it pulled up over here. We're talking about the stuff that I love to talk about. I get what we do in this show. We get really deep into the topics, and he's
way too much sometimes.
Yeah, he's talking about Total Recall, and he's asking us if it was all a dream, was it real, or was it something else? What is our opinion? And the conversation, obviously, because it's us, it got deep. So I think even Seldon Crisis joined up in the conversation. So if you want to be part of those conversations, talk about sci-fi, it doesn't have to be deep. That's the place to go.
Total Recall, just for the record, since you asked, for me is comparison to what happened to me when I watch Inception every single time.
Yeah. And we
Was
haven't
Inception written by Edgar Allan Poe?
Huh?
Do you get that one?
Alan Poe,
You
what?
get that one, Robert?
Yeah. Oh, You haven't read that, Gio? You have read Allan Poe?
I got an apple, of course.
Oh, okay. That,
Come
don't
on, man.
scare me. Don't scare me.
The Evermore.
Is all you're seeing but a dream within a dream?
Wait.
No, it's Inception.
The Evermore.
Oh man. So okay, so we can move on to the next segment.
Shout out.
And on this and the shadows for this episode, I have to always, there's some regulars in here, and you have no idea how much we appreciate the engagement. We really, really, really appreciate it. I will have to start with, and I know Gio has uh, a direct. Um, you could relate directly. The Manic, Pixie, Weirdo podcast
Mm-hmm.
is always. She's wonderful. She's amazing. Thank you so much for the engagement. She's always there. Um, you know, reposting our shows. So we really appreciate that. Angelus, obviously, he's always in. We really appreciate. He's always there, reposting and engaging in the conversation. We love the engagement. When it comes to sci-fi conversations, that's what we're in. Ely Zimmerman from sci-fi history.net. Which, by the way, I don't know if you heard in our previous episode, he wrote an article about us on that on the site. So we really appreciate not only that, but also his engagement. Sophie, one of our newest fans, really really appreciate it. She started listening to us since Warehouse 13 episode, so we really appreciate the engagement. And we have also, and I'm sorry if I say your name incorrectly. I have the
He's not.
Heretical Sayyadina. Um, I really, really thank you for the engagement also. And we already mentioned Prophetwalrus with the conversation today. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much and keep in comment. We also want to point out the people that have done engagement with us in Good Pods. If you haven't heard, we are in Good Pods, and you could actually rate us in there. So we have some regulars. We have the Cinema Recall podcast. We have Jack Culberson. We have our good friends at FSS Podcasts. DT Carel from Space Castle. I really want to thank you guys. You're always, every episode, you're always there. And not only do I appreciate the engagement, I also appreciate you guys going out of your way to give us those reviews. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And should we go into the next one? I think that would be you, Ray, the Outer Remnant.
The Outer Remnant.
Hey, I'm not the entirety of the Outer Remnant. You guys get around a bit too.
Well, this stream is good.
I'm still no part of it.
This stream is good. When it's good, it's good.
Yep.
Well, you got to have a side gig, guys, and then you can have it every week. Well, as everybody should know by now, unless this is your first time joining our podcast, and if so, welcome. But my side gig is, of course, Radio Chaos, the Elite Army live stream, Saturdays, 5 p.m. Eastern US time. Of course, the Elite Army is a worldwide fandom, so we have times right across the globe. When that's running, it's 7 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday for me, being in the future and all. No, Gian, you can't have a lot of numbers.
I won't ask for them anymore, but when I get it, I won't give you a cent.
Fair enough, it's old money by then anyway.
I'll buy you a flying fox pet.
I think he has gone on record saying that he's going to buy all your kitties everything. Only your kitties.
My kitty's out for sale.
Everything has a price, my friend.
You couldn't pay my price. Anyway.
Oh, your wife will give me the kitty. She's gonna be like, "Where's my cat?" And I sold it. I'm sorry, too much money. Can't say no.
We're not going down that road. Anyway,
she's gonna buy another one just like you. You're like, he's behaving weird.
She loves those moggies that she'd never part with them, not for any money.
Now I know which cat to buy to replace it.
Yeah. No, well, she's been unwell the last couple of days, and I opened the door, and both the cats, who don't get along very well and won't hang out near each other, are both on the bed with her. They know that she's sick. They're amazing. But by the by, that's an aside. But so Radio Chaos just last weekend. I was a bit concerned about this topic because I thought that it might be non-PC, but the Elite Army went, no, we're all good with this. It was called Gunham Cafe.
Gunham Cafe?
Yeah, Gunham Maid Cafe. Gunham is the Japanese name for Battle Angel Alita, the manga.
Oh,
the movie came from.
He's a bad guy from Zelda, so I thought it was that.
No. But basically, we said, who are your top 5 candidates for maids in a maid cafe in the Gunham universe? So we had a very interesting discussion on that.
Was Alita
nice?
Oh, Alita was number 1 on everybody's list, dude. Come on. She's like the number 1 maid candidate. And there's actually a picture of her dressed as a maid because she went undercover as a maid during Operation gotta remember the name of it. It's a bit of a weird name.
We're gonna take out your fan card.
Basically, now this is a huge spoiler, but Alita actually dressed as a maid when she went undercover to destroy the colony ships that were. They expected that they were going to be used as weapons because their engines could actually strip the atmosphere off planets. But they were colony ships to get humanity out of the solar system. It's sort of deep backstory from the Battle Angel Alita manga. But she was actually dressed as a maid, so there is a precedent. But it was an interesting episode, so you can catch that one on the Alita Army channel on YouTube.
All right.
It's episode 129.
Nice. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really good. If you love Alita as much as we do, you gotta check it out. You gotta go and go on the stream. It's really fun, especially if you love Alita. Okay, so you guys are ready? This movie was fun.
Didn't MJ have a shout?
Yeah,
an ad
it was.
Yeah, so I was going to get into that. That's why I was actually posting that. But this movie, Giancarlo, I got to ask, without getting into details, because eventually we'll get into details. Was this your first time watching this, or
yeah? Even though you suggested before, it was my first time.
So you never watched it ever in the movie theaters, nothing like that. This is
no.
Like, you're the newbie in the group.
Yeah, you have mentioned it to me before, a long time before, but I had not watched it. I need to fix this camera because it's bouncing when I move. But yeah, it's the first time ever that I watch it.
And so you can agree with the fact that it was a fun watch.
Oh yeah, and intense.
So if you don't know by now, by the title of our podcast, we're talking about cowboys and aliens. And I have to say, when I first heard of this movie, that name just caught me.
Yeah.
I mean, that didn't catch anybody's attention, man. Cowboys and aliens. It's like, what the hell is going on in here?
Because it's a mismatch, you know. And when it comes to sci-fi, I'm always looking for stuff unique. And you know, you have cowboys that are like typically in the 1800s, or around that. But aliens, obviously aliens could be in any decade, but I'm saying typically on sci-fi stories, they're usually far into the future. So you have a mismatch of past and future altogether, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just so appealing to me when I see stories like that mixes sci-fi with something else. And the reason why we have MJ on our show, um, and the topic that we're talking about, I want to shout out Cheap Seat Reviews. They got the podcast is really really amazing. Um, and
Mhm.
they were I actually heard MJ and that show talk about Cowboys and Aliens, and that's what I was like, oh my god, we haven't done that movie yet, and it's one of my favorite movies. But you know how the list goes, Ray, right? Our list is long, and there's quite a lot of movies that we haven't done yet. So if you have that,
Babylon 5.
I knew that was coming.
Can't disappoint.
and
Matrix.
Angelus, I got a quote Angelus for saying that he says, I haven't seen Babylon 5 yet, so don't feel bad. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to slap that boy next time I see him.
But I will watch it. I will definitely watch it. It's definitely on my list. It's for a long time, but yes, it is on my list. So
You will like the character of Garibaldi, I promise you. He's a dude.
Oh my god. So that's the reason. So shout outs to Cheap Seat Reviews. I do listen to you guys every time you come up with an episode. So thank you. So AJ, what experience have you had with this movie? I mean, is it just limited to the movie itself, or have you read any other content on the story?
It's just to the movie itself. I like anything having to do with the paranormal, and I guess aliens kind of falls into that, especially
Mhm.
with like what I'm into. I love listening
Right after Bigfoot.
to UFO stories and alien sightings and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not. You know what? I like Bigfoot. I'm not. I like, but he's my favorite.
Oh,
No
okay.
shade to Foot. He's just
Hey,
done.
MJ, do you like John Carter?
So maybe I love John Carter. Oh my god, that was like my obsession a few years back. Me and the kids would used to watch it all the time. I'm sorry, the girl came out of that one.
No.
That's quite all right.
But
We
yeah,
love John Carter.
Lean
We
into
love
it.
John Carter.
Own the cringe. Own it.
I love
I actually read all 12 books.
Oh, I like
and yes,
listen, I live in cringe.
I would have to say yes. There are 12 books. They're not. A lot of people tell me there's only 11. No, there's 12, and I'm sticking to it.
I went
So
all the way to book 10.
book 10. So yeah, you are my peeps. We love John Carter. It wasn't that our second episode.
I love
Yes.
it. So underrated. It got I think.
Yeah, it did. And
And it's such a good
I
movie.
have Disney to thank for that. So
Hey, Robert, were you on that episode of Radio Chaos where we compared John Carter, Riddick, and Alita?
oh yeah, that was a really good conversation.
Yeah, I love that one.
So yeah, you guys should look that up in YouTube. I think
Oh, yeah.
that was my first stream with you guys, I believe.
Yeah, that was your first
Yes.
visit.
Yeah,
That was
It-
fun.
it was a lot of fun. I love that. I occasionally keep on rewatching that because it was so much fun. So I would have to ask. I'm going to start with a newbie here, because I am so curious to get a different perspective. Because I'm partial when it comes to the movie. I love this movie.
Partial.
And you know that Gio, the happy endings.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that you loved this movie so much and the girl died.
Yeah, NJ, if you haven't, learned by now,
Disney endings,
it
he
has to be
loves
a
them.
Disney ending,
Oh, he
and that's
doesn't
the
like
reason
it.
why I don't typically like horror, not because I can't watch it, but because I prefer rainbows and butterflies.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, if Giancarlo's always, makes fun. So yes, Jiyoung, I love this movie, even though the girl died. Are you
And I tell
surprised?
you, like the movie is quite interesting the way every little detail is made, even how the aliens look, because it makes you think like, hey, they kind of grab some of our ancient history to make them similar to the things that the ancients portray in their imagery. You know, so
Yeah,
even the aliens, aside from being modern, they look like monoliths and shit like that.
yeah, that's really interesting.
So
Hmm.
like they put a lot of work into the details of the movie. I mean, they look creepy as fuck.
When when
They
when
scare
their
the shit
chest
out of me.
opens and the extra pair of hands come out. It's like,
Oh my
Uh,
god. No,
ugh.
no, no, no. It's he gives me the creeps, man.
I felt like the motive like not other movies.
mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
the first one that I noticed, and I don't know if you guys noticed, do you by any chance remember the teaser for Star Wars The Force Awakens? The very first teaser when
Nah.
we had Finn on, basically you see desert, and then all of a sudden you see
I don't think
Finn.
I do.
He
Mhm.
gets up and he's like, well, what happens at the very beginning of this movie?
Uh-huh.
I wonder because John Favreau is involved in this movie. He's also involved in all Star Wars.
Involved. He was the director.
He's
Yeah, he's the director.
he's involved.
Yeah.
He's like
I'd say Hitler was involved with World War
they're my
Two.
daughters. I'm involved.
So
Involved.
that's the first thing that caught my eye when I saw this. Like, hold on a second, this is Star Wars. Have you guys noticed that?
In a way, for 1800s
I
Star
didn't
Wars.
notice that until you pointed it out.
Yeah, I gotta find that clip. But if you look for the first ever trailer of The Force Awakens, it wasn't a trailer; it was a teaser. So don't put trailer. You want to put teaser on your Google search, and you'll find that. And of course, I saw this movie a long time ago. It's only now that I can make that relationship
Comparison, yeah.
because of Star
I'll tell
Wars.
you, that's a very smart storytelling tactic to catch your attention right away. Because I mean, the way that the movie start, even if you're not interested in it, it just pulls you in because it's like this guy is gasping and something is going on, and then just he used to take out six guys out of nowhere. So it's like it starts like bam, bam, bam.
And he
Everything.
doesn't remember a thing.
Yeah, he doesn't know who he is.
NJ,
So yeah,
did you watch this movie at the movie theaters, or do you saw it on just like on streaming? What was your first experience with this movie?
I have only ever saw it on streaming.
Mhm.
I can't remember the first time that I saw it, like where it was at, but like recently when I rewatched it again for cheap Seat reviews, it was on Peacock TV.
yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
That's what I
Oh,
watched it.
hold on a second. Let me go ahead. I think Ray
Sorry.
found the clip, and I don't know if you guys,
Yep.
if you guys are seeing the video, you'll see James Bond waking up in the desert.
James Bond. When I was watching the more like screw James Bond, this guy's cooler.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he's
I mean, I identify as a straight guy, but just watching Daniel Craig wander around in this movie, it's like, oh,
Ooh, it gets you in touch with your feminine side. Hey, I don't blame you, man. Me too.
I I watched the first half of this movie, and then I went down and worked out really hard. And then I came back and watched the rest of it.
Don't let your wife hear you. Yeah, right. But baby, I go tell him to do it, not me. But I don't even know him.
I mean, the character of Jake is just like, shit, this guy's hot.
Yeah, and you know that's one thing that I was noticing, and it's a good thing you mentioned it. We know that at the beginning of the movie he lost his memory, but he's so definitely short on himself. Although he doesn't know nothing was going on, it's what was he was quoted by saying all he knew was English, but
And
I
not much of it.
Eh?
And not much of it. He doesn't talk very much.
Yeah,
he's very economic with the lines.
He was Jon Snow.
So it makes me wonder, what, me, I have to think things deeply. If you forget, if your memory is erased, how can you be sure of yourself? I mean, you think there's some sort of residual from his past memories into his brain that made him act? Because it seems like it all came out naturally.
I think that's part of the subconsciousness, the things that we are not fully aware or in control.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's also in flight or fight mode.
Yeah, which is instinctive. You don't think about it; you just do.
And even go ahead.
I don't know that he was that frightened. He's confused. So
no, but that's the thing: it's fight or flight. So he necessarily is not frightened. He might be in fight mode.
He's fighting. Yeah, it's fighting, not flighting. But yeah, he just
chose.
He's. We all know that your character is created by your history, what you've been through, and how it's affected you. But I think that there's definitely a gap between the way he is when his memory's been erased and how he is when he gets it back. Because he's certainly not the complete asshole that everybody's treating him like, who knows him from before he lost his memory. He's actually a decent kind of guy, but he's also so comfortable in his own skin. It's not like, who the hell am I? Why are people acting like this? It's more, okay, this is how much I know about myself. I didn't even know my own name. Okay, that's my name. Great. I found out my name because the guys came to arrest me. It's like,
yeah. I mean, even when he, at the beginning of the movie, he goes out to the church, where he's completely apparent danger or immediate danger, I should say. He was still acting this way, like very short of himself.
And that's one of the things that makes him so likable, is that he's completely comfortable in his own skin. It's like, okay,
senpai.
This guy, like the scene where the cattle baron's son's going around saying, okay, everybody can put money in towards giving it to the bartender, and he's like, okay, don't you know who I am? He's going, nope. And I'm not fussed either.
Oh, that line was amazing. It's like,
he's like,
be careful
boy,
when you
cowboy.
point that thing if you don't want to get hurt. Love that line.
You're simping all over him, huh, Ray?
Oh, I am. Oh,
come on, Gio. I know you are too. Come on, Gio.
A little man.
I can.
There's more handsome guys than him. He's handsome, but he's not the most handsome guy.
But it's not about the.
Benedict Cumberbatch gets me more into it.
Sorry about that. It's a low glucose alarm.
Also, another thing that you mentioned, Ray, when he gets his memories back, that he is definitely, based on what we hear, in comparison, a different person. I think.
Oh, I think he's a bit disappointed with himself, actually. He's like, scumbag.
You know how we are a product of our, our surroundings, our experiences.
We are a recollection of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that not only the experience he went through on the alien ship, also losing the lover, it, I think that changed him
Yeah.
greatly. And I was thinking about that because a person like the one that they're
Let me
describing.
shove a lightsaber under your ribs, and you're gonna tell me if it doesn't change you.
Well, that alone will not do it. I think mostly was the guilt, if you think about it.
Oh, did that little blade thing remind you of the bread cutting knife from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the movie?
Oh yeah,
That
It
shit
not only
terrified
cuts
me,
the
man.
bread, but it
That
toasts
scene.
it at the same time.
yeah, he got toasted.
That scene terrified me, man. I was like I wouldn't survive to that shit just for the trauma.
Well, not only that, but I mean, I heard when I heard that episode on Cheap Seat Reviews on NJ, and she brought up that point where, and you can elaborate into that, NJ, if you like, but when he was looking at, not sure at this point it was at his wife, or it was definitely the lover, and she was on that table, and you could see jerking motions. You don't need
Yeah.
to.
The sound.
You don't need to.
Use much imagination.
Oh wow!
Yeah, your
You see, and I've heard
imagination
like
is worse than whatever TV could put.
yeah. No, and like I got I got seasons in my life, and like I had a season of like listening to podcasts about ovnis and UFOs stories of abduction, and most of them they did not feel pain. So when you think like that safe zone is gone, you're like, oh shit. And depending on how far your imagination goes, it's just worse.
And it was just gut wrenching because she
Yes.
was actually crying. You can't tell she's not feeling pain, but she knows what's going on. She knows she's dying. And when I heard NJ talking that on
Yeah.
Cheap Seat Reviews about that, I was like, oh my god, I remember that scene. Oh my god! I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. If you guys listening out there, reach out on Twitter. I'd love to see what your reaction was when you saw that scene for the first time.
It's actually worse because pain distracts you from what's going on. But if you're not feeling pain, you're not distracted. You know exactly what's happening.
Yep, it's true. That's a very good point.
I don't know if you guys. It just came out like this are much like makes your imagination just run wild. It makes whatever you're hearing your imagine. Oh no, like that movie really got me.
It's
like,
more immersive.
I have not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to give it to them for that, the way they did that scene, because this is why books are amazing. This is why books are better, because when you're reading and you're not being provided the visuals, it's left to your brain to decipher, and you can actually create the scene. You can create what you're watching in your head when you read. So I have to give it to them for creating that scene, because the way they created it, they didn't give you much. You could see her on the table, you can see the jerking motions, and you can hear that sound. But then your brain fills up the gap.
The best writing, it's referred to as show don't tell. You don't talk down to your audience. You give them just enough to put it together themselves, and especially with horror, the worst horror is the horror that you create in your own mind. You scare yourself, and we all know from when we were little kids about the wardrobe door being just ajar slightly, and the shit that your brain makes up and puts in that cupboard is way worse than
and
anything
depending on how bad
anybody can
experiences
tell
you had. depending on how bad experiences you have in your life, it'll be worse.
Oh yeah. But horror, the best horror leans into your own fears, and that scene certainly does that.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if I'm fearless?
Good luck.
As someone
That's all I can say.
who loves horror, this movie was. I've seen it all before.
I don't understand why this movie didn't resonate with people. I mean, the budget was 163 million and the box office was 174.8. So it did not make its money back.
It broke even.
I don't get
You broke
it.
even.
No, it didn't
This
even break
movie-
even.
I
It's
think
amazing.
I think that is what Robert likes to call a sleeper movie. Probably this
Yeah.
one is.
Yeah, if it doesn't make in the box office, and it doesn't have that traction. That's that's my definition of a sleeper movie, and this definitely because most likely when I mention it to people, they don't really they're not even aware of this movie. As a matter of fact, I watched it yesterday with my wife, and she never heard of that before, and she loved it. As a
And
matter of fact,
I know about it because you mentioned it before, not because somebody else told me or because I knew.
Yeah, I mean, and if you have heard previous podcasts, my wife is all into Marvel, so she kept on asking me to forward to the end because there might be some sort of like advances to the next movie, and that's how much
Post credit scene.
that's how much we exactly, and that's how much we love this movie. And I remember, I mean, when I saw this for the first time a while back, I always wished there was a second. I mean, I know the story's kind of told, that's it. The aliens blew up and that's it. There's no more. But I can't help wanting more. When I watch a movie that is so much fun,
I
I
mean,
want more.
they are not the only aliens from wherever they came from.
Well, that's true.
You expect that now that the weird shit has happened to Jake that it's going to follow him around.
Yeah,
and they could do it. They could do a sequel where there's some other weird shit going on. And his interest in this sort of thing is now peaked, or however you want to say it. And he gets involved voluntarily with this shit now because he's interested in it.
we could also have Ella come back.
So Rocky
Dude,
have his
the
happy
chick
ending.
got blown to bits, but I suppose she
But
died.
it doesn't matter. It
once and
doesn't
came
matter.
back
We have to
around.
make possible Robert's happy ending.
Listen. Jake lost 2 women. Okay, one of them has to come back.
Well, third time is the charmer.
If I was a woman in his story, I'd be running a mile.
Yes. Red flags where.
Senpai.
Oh my god.
Red flag Chen. Yep, totally.
Oh my god. Yeah. So yeah, this movie was a lot of fun. I just love how they mixed sci-fi with cowboys, and the play on the name. It's kind of because typically when I was growing up, you play cowboys and cowboys and Indians, right? That's not PC anymore, but I mean, I graduated in 1990, so and the way that they played on that name convention, it's kind of clever if you think about it. I don't know if
I'm pre-PC in every term of the word. All right, I existed before PCs did, and before PC did.
There you go. Well, I don't know, Giancarlo. I don't know if you agree with my statement or if you experience. I know you're a lot younger than I am. I'm sure Ray probably could. I'm kind of curious to see if you guys experience that. And MJ, I don't know if you even know what I'm talking about. But I like to hear. Basically, I don't want to hear that I'm alone in this.
You're not. You're totally not.
No, you're not, man. I can tell you that much. I mean, yeah, you're not.
Robert, the reason you and I get along so well together is that we're like eggs in the same box, man.
Yeah.
We both love sci-fi. We're both around the same age. We've both had similar traumas. So,
We both watch a lot of animes.
oh yeah.
Hey, at least you guys got to watch anime just like me. They thought it was for kids.
Oh, yeah. I had a movie for those people.
So I get to grow up.
Thing. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well,
Mhm.
We
MJ
got to
was
grow
telling us
up before
we
our
got
time.
started. MJ was telling us before we got started on the pod that she's into horror anime, and I'm like, yeah.
So she likes F and Light. You have watched F and Light?
Oh,
I don't.
Redo
I'm not
of
entirely
Healer.
sure right now. What was I watching? I
Redo
was
of
watching
Healer.
Castlevania the other day.
Oh, I haven't watched it
And
completely. I
Attack on
started it.
Titan, obviously, because
Oh,
Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, Robert likes Attack on Titan,
Can you
which
believe that?
surprises me.
I like it, and it
Yep.
shocks everybody that I like it.
it's so good.
Yeah.
But
I
everybody
have
dies.
avoided the big three: Attack on Titan, crap, what's it called? I've avoided it, so it's not coming to me. Naruto. Oh God.
Naruto?
Yeah, Naruto.
I watch
You haven't
all
watched
Narutos.
Naruto?
Nope.
Dragon Ball?
I've been forced to watch one Dragon Ball movie, but I haven't watched anything else.
Which
Hold on a
movie?
second. The movie? The
No.
movie?
Which movie?
The one with
I was gonna say I'm sorry for you, man.
the other dude. No, it's there's another dude that
As long as you know a live action movie,
lean into.
which is not a movie, yeah, that's fine.
No, not anything live action.
Good. You haven't been damaged.
Nope. No, the
Yeah,
only
Dragon-
anime live actions I've really leaned into is obviously Alita, and Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell is
Amazing.
badass, bro.
Amazing.
What
So
about Demon Slayer?
I don't know.
Love it.
I tried to watch Demon Slayer, and I'm just like,
What's wrong with you, Ray? Demon Slayer is the shit.
I only watched one episode.
look. If
Why
you
you
want
haven't
good,
watched more,
if you
Robert?
want
What's wrong with
good
you?
sci-fi horror in anime, watch Steins Gate. All right.
Steins Gate?
What the MC goes through in Steins Gate, I would not want to happen to anybody, including myself. Oh Jesus!
Wow.
Now I have to watch it.
I mean, it's bad enough. I've experienced friends dying. A really close friend of mine who I had not on a conscious level realized was gay, but his parents tried to re-educate him. And he committed suicide 2 weeks before. Well, we call it the high school certificate, but you guys would call it like finals, like at the end of high school. Final exams. 2 weeks before final exams, a friend of mine committed suicide.
Wow.
Fun times in high school, I got to tell you.
That's real, man.
So,
But yeah. So I've experienced friends dying. Now imagine if you had a way to go back and try and fix it.
That reminds me of ReZero.
Would you take that? Would you take that chance? Of course you would.
No.
How
I've
many
learned not to.
times would you take? How many times would you take that chance? When would you give up?
Depends for them.
I'll tell you something. I've learned by now in life and by many shows like that in movies, I will not go back. I will fuck it up worse. That's what happens all the time. You fix that and something worse happens somewhere else. You don't want to. You don't want to.
It's the old idea of well, we've had a Doctor Who episode which I missed unfortunately, but the fixed points in time and space that you can't change.
Mm-hmm.
And if your friend's death or your loved one's death was one of them, how would you deal?
now here's a question: if you can think about the story throughout in this movie, what would you consider a fixed point in space? in this movie?
When she died.
Yeah, his lover being killed by the
When
aliens.
Go ahead.
yeah, that one is going to be the fixed point in time. The cut open when his wife
Mm-hmm.
is it his wife?
Yeah.
Well, we find out later on from his gang that she was a whore, and he basically taken her away from that. He'd gone out and robbed a whole bunch of people to get the gold to set them up. And he was
How
being
convenient he
super selfish
forgot
about
everything,
that.
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah. But I
he was
think
a bad man.
Now I'm thinking if it was real amnesia, he actually conveniently just forgot.
well, it was a a traumatic event. Usually, your brain has that thing of trying to block out.
Mhm.
I mean, we know that it's had a lot to do with the aliens
Missing
because of
memory.
that.
I'm
The
thinking of
missing.
robbing and getting that shit.
Huh?
I'm thinking of robbing a bank or something and just getting that. Oh, well, I don't remember.
Well, here's the reason why I'm saying it is I think, and I agree with that being the fixed point in time in this movie because not just the fact that she died, but the chain of events that led to her death,
Mm-hmm.
because him robbing the bank, bringing the gold home, that alone
Mhm.
causes him to have this regret that if he would think that, okay, if I would never have taken that gold home, she would have still been alive, and the whole story would have played out completely different, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe the entire planet would have been taken over by the aliens because we would not have that same drive that he had after these events happened. Um, so I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, I think if that wouldn't happen the way that it happened, the movie would end it a complete different story. It has to be the exact way.
Yes.
It would have
Yeah.
ended differently, but she's not a connection to the aliens coming here to do what they were gonna do.
No, but what I'm saying is, let's assume, for example, that he never took the gold home.
If he hadn't
Right?
been such a bad man and nicked everybody's gold and taken it back to her.
You
Let's
like
say,
when you
for
call them
example,
Batman,
let's say,
Bad man. He's a
let's say,
bad
for,
boy.
let's
Oh
say, for
yeah.
example, he got the gold and never took it home, but he's like taking the gold and trying to do, like get things planned ahead of time so he can come back and get her later. And in the process, the aliens would grab him and not her because the gold was down. She was at home when
Mhm.
he was away.
I think that they would have grabbed another woman because
No,
thinking on the aliens, they come in to study us or something or poke at us, so they want one of each,
but see,
regardless.
here's the thing. Here's what I'm talking about. The reason why the aliens took her is because she was near the goal. Think about that scene for a minute.
So you don't
If
think
they
that if you discard the
Mhm.
gold, they were gonna just go and look for another female
no, they go
character
out. They're going at.
randomly?
They're going after the gold.
Yeah.
Whoever is
Okay.
around the gold gets taken. So if he
Yeah.
never gets home,
Yeah.
they're following the gold. They'll take him. Then that traumatic experience never happens for him. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I was watching that scene and I was thinking about that, and I'm kind of curious to think what you guys thought about that. Happening in that way. Does that make sense, Ray? I mean,
Oh,
It
yeah.
does
No,
make sense. I was on
huge
from that
amount of sense.
perspective, relating the goal specifically to it.
As a writer, you've got to give your main
She's into
character
his
a reason.
character's arc.
Yes, hugely.
True.
so
I mean, we only ever get little flashes of her. That scene we've mentioned where her body's being jerked around and then is ashed in a very slow and painful and horrific manner. And the scenes where he goes to the cabin with the hole in the roof and remembers her and remembers what happened there. But for a character that's so important to his backstory, we barely see her. She's in a photo that he carries around, and it's well done. That you know it. You don't want to show the horrific things too much. It's like in a horror movie where they show the monster early, and it's just like, yeah, well, it's a monster. Big deal. It's not showing. It's what you don't say that's important in this case.
Implied.
I think it's very well done. I mean, the whole movie is really well crafted. I go back and watch movies that I've seen in my young days, and I look at them now with a totally different set of eyes. And I looked at this movie and went, you know, if you took the aliens out of this movie, it's a fucking good Western. It's just great.
It's true.
And it's violent and it's brutal. And that's how the West probably was. I mean, you know, the law was very thin on the ground, and you know, Dollarhide's got more power than the local sheriff. And you know, the sheriff's like, I got to do my job. I got to send the son off to the local magistrate, and like he knows that Dollarhide's going to ride in and take his son back because Dollarhide's that kind of guy. Just like, I've got the power and I'm going to use it. But you also see arcs of these characters and what they're going through, and the Indian chief discovers that there are white people who are decent and upstanding. Dollarhide learns that the Indian people aren't just something to be slaughtered because they're in his way. He learns that the Indian boy who he's been, you know, kicking around looks up to him and thinks that he's a fantastic warrior, and he realizes that he's the sort of guy that he would have liked as a son, and then he dies. That's what happens. Everybody just dies. Oh, you're terrific. Oh, you're dead. It's a summary of this movie. You're terrific. Oh, you're dead.
It reminds me of kind of The Walking Dead.
That is true.
In that matter. Because every time you start attached to a character, die.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, it's not overdone. I mean, it's only a 2-hour movie. Well, I watched the extended version, so it was even more brutal than the cinematic release. But
more gore. Yay.
The writers and the director, Jon Favreau, did a fantastic job of putting this together. It's well written, it's well acted, it's well directed, and I can't understand why it didn't do better. It's just one of those like,
yeah, I don't get that. This movie was
it's
so
very
much fun.
niche, and if you're not into sci-fi, you're not gonna vibe with it.
Well, you kind of need to be into sci-fi and westerns, which I am. So there you go. My father was a huge western fan and made me watch pretty much everything that John Wayne ever did in the western genre, not so much the romance genre, but the western genre. So yeah, I mean, I dig westerns and I dig sci-fi, and when it was cowboys and aliens, I'm like, I'm there.
And you dig James Bond.
Opening night, I'm there, and it was quiet, and I'm like, where is everybody? Shouldn't everybody be here? So, yeah, fair enough. We haven't done the plot yet. Should I do the plot? Should we kick the plot out before the end of the show this time?
Go ahead.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Maybe you can do the short version, maybe, or obviously I had to ask. You don't have to.
No, I've tried it too many times and it didn't quite work.
Oh my god, I am hungry for that now. Yeah.
I've lit a fire.
Let me explain to MJ what happened.
Yeah, do so.
There was an episode. I can't remember what episode it was. But
Alien.
Oh, it was Alien. Yeah. So Ray found a bootleg DVD cover description of the movie.
It was a blurb on the back of a bootleg.
And it
For
was
Alien.
so freaking funny. It sounded like they passed it to translators after translators after translators and then put it back in English. And it was just hilarious.
Just didn't sound right.
So now I want more.
I haven't been able to replicate.
Well, he can
that,
get us the Chinese translation. That
Yeah, which I even tried. I actually tried, went to Google Translate and tried to. It didn't. It never comes up as good as that one. So too bad. I'm not gonna get my fix.
I'm just trying to find it, but it's I'm not finding it in our meme list in on our Discord. I thought I put it in there, but I can't find it anyway.
No, that's all right. It gives our listeners a chance to go download the Alien episode and listen to it.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah,
cracked me up.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I was in tears.
The plot. I've got a tickle in my throat now. Just typical, isn't it? Okay. In 1873, New Mexico territory, a man awakens injured in the desert with a strange metal bracelet attached to his left wrist and no memory. He wanders into the town of Absolution, where preacher Meekham treats his wound. Sheriff John Taggart recognizes the stranger as wanted outlaw Jake Lonigan and attempts to arrest him. Jake nearly escapes, but a woman named Ella Swanson interferes. Taggart and his men prepare to transport both Jake and petulant young drunkard Percy Dollarhide to Santa Fe for trial. Percy's father, Colonel Woodrow Dollarhide, a ruthless cattle baron, arrives with armed men and demands Percy be released. He also wants Jake, who's stolen gold from him. During the standoff, aliens begin to attack the town. Percy, Taggart, and other folk are abducted by grappling cables fired from the bottom of these ships. Jake's bracelet inexplicably activates and transforms, becoming a weapon, and he shoots down a ship, ending the attack. Excuse me. I told you there's a tickle in my throat. It's always bad timing. Dollarhide, Ella, and other townsfolk form a posse to track down an injured alien that escaped from the downed ship. Meanwhile, Jake travels to an abandoned cabin and, in a flashback, recalls returning to it with stolen gold and then being abducted along with a woman named Alice by the aliens. His memories returning, Jake joins the posse. During the evening, they come upon a upside-down paddle-wheeled steamboat that the aliens apparently dumped far from any large river. They camp inside it during the night. An alien kills Meacham, who sacrifices himself to save Emmett, Taggart's grandson. So Taggart is the sheriff of the town, Absolution. Excuse me. By morning, most of the posse has deserted, and Jake's former gang attacks the rest. Jake, who stole the gang's loot after their last heist, attempts to retake control but is foiled. The aliens attack again and abduct Ella. Jake jumps aboard the ship that attacks the alien pilot, causing the ship to crash in the river. The pilot survives and the crash and attacks Ella, fatally wounding her before Jake kills it with his wrist blaster. The remaining posse is captured by the Chickasaw Apache Native Indians, who blame them for the alien attacks. After Ella's corpse is dumped on a fire by a Chickasaw warrior, she is resurrected and emerges from the fire. Ella reveals herself to be from another alien race who has traveled to Earth to help resist the invaders after they destroyed her homeworld. The aliens, who are mining gold and abducting people to conduct experiments on them, have superior weaponry and are far stronger and more durable than humans. Only Jake's wrist blaster weapon or a well-aimed rifle round can kill them with one shot. Ella tells them that the previous attacks were just scouts. She also claims Jake holds a secret to the aliens' whereabouts and argues that they must defeat the aliens before the invaders exterminate all life on Earth. After taking medicine offered by the Apache's medicine man, Jake's memory returns. He recalls watching Alice get vivisected and euthanized. He escaped by stealing the bracelet that is encasing his wrist. He also remembers the location of the aliens' base of operations, their landed mothership. With the knowledge, they plan an attack on the alien base. Jake leaves to persuade his old gang to join the fight, while Dollarhide takes command of the original group and the Apaches. After the combined groups maneuver the aliens into a ground battle, Jake and Ella board the ship and free the captives, but Jake is captured. Dollarhide rescues him, and both men escape from the ship after killing an alien responsible for Alice's death, identified as Jake's left a distinctive scar on his face in the original escape. The ship takes off and as the remaining aliens flee Earth, but Ella stays aboard and ends the threat. She sacrifices herself by entering the ship's core and turning Jake's wrist weapon into a bomb. It detonates, obliterating the ship. With the aliens gone, the rescued townsfolk begin remembering their pasts. Still a wanted man, Jake chooses to leave. The sheriff and Dollarhide decide to claim he was killed in the invasion. The citizens intend to rebuild their town from the gold taken from the aliens. Credits roll.
Awesome. So, you know that the story, in a way, is simple.
Yeah, it is.
And it's kind of hard for me to find a movie that is as fun to watch as this is, and as good when it comes to writing as this one is.
The simplicity of it is one thing, and also like it's gratifying the ending, even though it's not the perfect ending. You know, like everybody gets a little bit of what they want, and it's not a total death toll, if you might call it something.
Yeah.
You
Although
know?
there was a lot of like bodies hitting the floor there, but
Yeah, but like those are characters that are not main, so who cares, you know? But what I'm saying is like it makes sense that they like Ella didn't stay. She's from another planet and stuff, so it's like it's a way of not keeping her with humanity because she was already, and it was probably it's not in our best interest since our nature is to take over and control shit to keep her around.
Well,
You know?
she did tell Jake, "Don't fall for me. I won't be around much longer." She knew she was gonna be committing
Well-
suicide to get rid of them.
let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this when I was watching. I think not just this time around, but previous times. I've seen this movie multiple times. I actually own a copy. Given the fact that we're not given enough information about Ella, and the fact that she said, I took this form so I can walk among you, and in another way, after the supposedly burning of the body, when she came out, and she said, well, I wasn't sure I could repair this body. Now we fast forward to the end of the movie where she blew up with the ship.
And now she's sure she's gonna repair.
Well, that is the question. It's apparent that that's not her body. So can we, and I'm going to ask this around, I don't know if I should start with MJ and move around and see what, just your honest opinion. We don't know what she is. We have no idea if she maybe took the body and she's all, because if you read or watch a lot of sci-fi,
like
you'll find that
she's a metaphysicity, you mean?
Well, she could be an all light entity that taken over that body. I mean, we don't know. There's no information, but based on this, on the little bits that I can pick from this movie, it's obvious that this is not her body. It's obvious that she was constantly repairing it, kind of like driving a car. Do you think? And I guess I'll start with NJ, and you can tell me honest opinion of what you think. You don't have to go as deep as I do, because I typically do go deep. But do you think she's alive?
I think she could be. I do think like it depends how much energy it takes to heal the body, especially after that. Which I would think it would evaporate it, maybe. Which
Yes.
I don't know. I guess maybe it's possible.
Look, I could write a sequel for this movie. It wouldn't be too hard. She kissed him goodbye. She could have transplanted some of her essence into him. He could be, riding along looking for somewhere new to settle down, and he starts having flashbacks or dreams of an alien planet. And he's like, what the hell is going on here? And then she starts forming in his mind and becomes a little bit, like a spirit existing in his head. And she might guide him towards something else.
Like a tulpa?
Yeah. I mean, she could become his guiding spirit or something like that. And, there's something else going on that needs his intervention to stop the aliens from coming back or something like that. They've hidden a transmitter somewhere that's sending out a signal, and if he doesn't stop it within a certain amount of time, the alien invasion force will show up.
You have a point there. You know how I spoke before saying that, the story is told and I don't think I can have a part 2?
Oh.
Well, if you think about it, this was a scout.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the rest of the fleet wonder what happened to their scout?
Yep. I mean, there's often in these sort of things that when you have a scouting force, if the scouting force doesn't return, like they might have multiple scouting forces out. The scouting forces that come back with information are the ones that are considered. And if a scouting force doesn't come back, it's like, oh, maybe that place is too dangerous. We haven't got time for that now. We just won't go there. That's the sort of thing that they're leaning into for this. That if the scouting force doesn't come back, the place is too dangerous. We won't go there.
Gio.
But you've got the other side of the coin. If our scouting force doesn't come back, we send a bigger force to find out why.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Gio, I know you're wondering, that I am still looking for my Disney ending in this movie. So I'm going to ask the question in a different way. Is Ella alive?
So I see it two ways. When she died, she could have been like some kind of a metaphysical entity, which means she is. The body's just a shell. But the other thing I was thinking is something like the alien forms in the Host movie or in the book, which is a parasitical. So in that manner, really.
And shameless plug there, if you have not listened to our season 1 Host episode, man, I had so much fun talking about that movie. But I don't know if you guys have seen The Host. NJ, have you seen The Host? The movie The Host? It's based on a book, which I read also.
Yeah, I've yes.
Amazing. So
Did you guys hear me?
Or no? Gia, you have a point there.
And the thing is, that's what I like about the simple writing. All these lagoons and gaps, detailed information leaves it to run in the spectator's imagination.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about that. Sometimes not so much information gives you so much more imagination.
You were saying something, Ray?
I was just going to say, if you like The Host, then you should also check out, and I want to do this for the podcast at some point too, the movie The Hidden.
The Hidden?
Oh.
Which the Hidden.
I'm going to look for it.
Yeah.
Now I want to check it out because I love The Host.
I am surprised I have not heard of that.
I love them both, Ray and Robert.
It's very B grade, but it is basically, alien parasites come to Earth and basically have their disagreement from inside humans. So,
wow.
And there's also an anime called Parasite.
I started watching it. Is it good?
It shouldn't be confused. Oh yeah, it's fantastic. The dub's really good as well. But it shouldn't be confused with the very popular Korean movie Parasite. It's not the same show, but it's basically a guy wakes up one morning and his arm starts talking to him and morphing and doing various things, and apparently overnight his arm was eaten by this parasite and it became his arm and his hand, and now he has to deal with.
Oh my god! Okay.
Normally the parasites go and eat the person's brain and takes them over entirely, but for some reason it couldn't do that, so it just became his arm instead. But he actually forms a close friendship with this parasite.
His arm is his best friend.
Bad things happen. There's a really sad death in that anime, so Robert shouldn't watch it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's one of the top 10 saddest deaths in anime.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And NJ, you probably might not know this from me, but it's apparent to our listeners because I talk a lot about it. I can't watch sad. I'm what I'm like to call it empath. So what I see on media, I feel it. So like there have been, I remember there was a movie that I watched that. I watched Beaches. That's one that I can point out, but there has been many.
What about Upgrade? We did Upgrade recently.
Well, Upgrade was different. But, to give you an example, I watched Beaches and I was on the sofa for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes that I couldn't stand up. I watched Dark Mirror. Remember, Giancarlo?
Yeah, Black Mirror.
My heart rate was 120 during the recording. So if you guys should download that Dark Mirror episode and just have fun with me.
It wasn't funny. You didn't even remember the show name, Black Mirror.
Yeah. I will not watch.
It got dark for you.
It's an amazing.
Dark Mirror has a lot of good episodes.
Yeah, it's an amazing sci-fi series.
They keep on calling Dark Mirror. It's Black Mirror.
Oh, Black Mirror. There you go. Dark Mirror. Black Mirror. There you go.
Our listener gonna be like, Dark Mirror? I don't find that show.
It's Dark Shadows. With Barnabas Collins. No, it was. Yeah. So, yeah, that's me. I can't. That's why I prefer that happy butterfly unicorns.
Never watched Graveyard of the Fireflies. Or it's a Graveyard or Grave of the Fireflies. It's by Studio Ghibli. Never watched that.
Too late.
That
Too late.
movie gave me depression for like a month.
Too late. I watched it.
You already watched it?
Only one time in my life. That's it. I was destroyed. Completely.
Yeah,
but Ghibli Studio is famous for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard.
Yeah, war dramas are like that though.
No, that one's like based on real life. No,
86.
Well, Grave of the Fireflies.
86.
Grave of the Fireflies is based on
Grave of the Fireflies.
The atomic bomb and how it affected thits 2 kids.
Yeah, but it's the writer's.
Oh, I think I started
it. Based on the writer's life, I believe.
Yeah, there's another anime called 86, which I've watched half of, and I'm kind of like, I think this is going to go pretty bad at the end. But basically, you've got the genetic pure genetic people living in this walled city, and everyone else is outside fighting the evil robots. But I won't go into the details. But yeah, it gets pretty nasty.
86.
You start discovering what the robots are doing to people. 86, yeah, because they live in Ward 86, which is just basically everything that nobody wants. Where the
so I have two shows to get a show in a movie because River of the Fireflies I started. I remember I haven't finished it, and I didn't stop because I wanted. I had to stop it to do so I got back to it.
Yeah,
I want you to watch Steins Gate though, because as I was saying before, how many times would you try and save somebody who's really important to you?
What you're telling me reminds me of ReZero, which I need to continue because we haven't continued, Robert.
ReZero, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Steins Gate and ReZero have a lot of similarities, although Steins Gate is pure time travel sci-fi. It is fantastic.
Like with Zero is super traumatic. Like you feel the trauma of the guy.
Oh yeah, the writers just kick the shit out of the main character in Steins Gate.
Yeah.
Oh, poor guy.
Let me ask this question. This is a question that I sometimes ask in previous episodes. In this case, only because I want to hear points of view, I want to start with Gian, since he is the one in this group that have recently seen this movie. So he's the newbie. I'd really like to get his point of view first. And we can move on to MJ, only because she's seen it streaming. And then we can move on to Ray and me, who have seen it on the theaters. So the question is, this movie is a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
It's all about, cowboys and aliens. You have your typical
I probably
Western
will watch it.
and oh yes, and your sci-fi story. Gia, if you can pick your favorite scene in this movie, what would that scene be? And you don't have to really think hard. This would probably be a scene that you enjoy so much that it's the first thing that comes to mind.
Look, when I saw the beginning of the movie, I thought it was, but when he saves her from the flying alien on the plane that he has, something that looks like a firefly, that's my favorite scene. It was so intense.
Oh yeah, that's a really cool scene.
Oh yeah.
I was like, he's what is he doing? Because he's like, when I was watching that scene, he's on a horse, and you see the ship going. The ship is damaged, so he can't really climb up. So he's going in between this, on
Side of the cliff.
Yeah, in between the cliffs, and he's running. It's like, what is he doing? What is he planning to? Is he going to jump?
They're like, this is not a train.
Yeah, that was a really cool.
It was
scene.
good. It was good.
NJ,
the thing flew down, the ship flew down, and it went to grapple him, and he dodged it by swinging off his saddle and going like the side of the horse. Yep. And then he used the weapon on his arm, and he shot under the horse's neck and shot the flying ship. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, it's like a typical Western when you go under the horse and you shoot your gun.
Yeah.
Except
no. That was some ninja Moto Ninja shit on a horse. Moto GP on a horse.
NJ, do you agree with that? Is that your favorite scene, or do you have another one?
I have another one. My favorite one is where the kid kills the alien because see, like the entire time I had like major anxiety, and then he is trapped. And I was like, oh my god, how are you gonna get us the kid? Please don't. Like I can't do kid dying.
That was intense.
Or scenes. I could do animals.
No kids or dogs.
And then when he him in the heart, I was like, yes, no kids or dogs.
That was a good scene.
Intense. I remember my wife was, kind of panicking, especially when he opened up his chest and those two little creepy arms start coming up after the little kid, and she's like almost screaming at the screen. It's like, come on, do something. Yeah, that was an intense scene. I really liked that one.
Being a writer, I knew that he'd been given that knife specifically to deal with that alien. You could see it coming a mile away.
Yeah,
you could see that the knife was gonna be of use.
Yeah, exactly. And he had to become a man. He had to defend himself. He had to stop running and fight.
So is that where that speech came from?
I thought the same thing.
Ray, what is your scene?
I'm a turning point kind of guy. So my favorite scene was when they're it looks pretty bad. The ship's going to get away. The Earth's going to be invaded and destroyed. And Ella sacrifices herself. She activates the thing and it's counting down, and she's being approached on all sides by the aliens, and it looks like she's just going to be ripped to shreds. And she hugs the thing to her,
and she gets ripped to shreds.
Now, when the ship explodes, they were channeling the Challenger space shuttle disaster.
Oh yes,
totally leaning into it.
I actually watched on the news when that happened.
Yeah, because I remember the day the Challenger space shuttle went up, and they specifically designed the explosion to look like that.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah,
To channel that anxiety. And
But it made you feel good, blood, actually, instead of feeling terrified.
Yeah.
When Challenger happened, it was terrifying. Here, it was like, blow up, assholes.
But I mean, there haven't been a lot of spaceships exploding in atmosphere that we've seen live on TV. And Challenger's pretty much it for a ship that was going up.
Mm-hmm.
The other space shuttle that disintegrated coming back in because it had lost some tiles on launch.
Was it Colombia?
Didn't really. Sorry?
Colombia had a near with the tiles. I mean, they finally landed, but it was scary there for a minute.
Well, there was another one. I can't remember which one it was, but it broke up as it was entering the atmosphere. So they actually lost 2 shuttles in flight. But Challenger was the one that most related to this scene in the movie, and I'm sure that they leaned into it with the way it exploded and the sort of the way it sort of went tum 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 tum, and you could see the gold spreading out and falling back to Earth.
It's sad in a way and smart in another one, because
kind of reprograms you.
If you have experienced that, when you watch this movie, it's in the back of your head. So when you watch that, you in your head you're thinking that kind of looks familiar, and the feelings that you had at that point come back to you, but you don't know what is it or for what reason. So it's kind of like their way of trying to make you feel a specific way with a trigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, except I immediately
trying to reprogram it.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
I was saying that if you have a trigger or a traumatic memory about it, it could subconsciously reprogram it, knowingly. Because then you see that spacecraft blowing up, but you don't remember the Challenger anymore, even though you're connected to it. It's like you actually feel like gratifying, like this house is blowing up. Good. And you don't remember that traumatic experience anymore. It disconnects you from it.
Memories that are combined with strong emotions are the ones that stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we suffer so much from trauma, from experiences that we've had. And part of it is a self-defense mechanism. That's
what I'm trying to get Alzheimer's.
If you forget bad things that happen to you, then you're not going to learn from them and use that again in your future when it happens again.
Mm-hmm.
So, a memory tied to a strong emotion sticks with you, and that lesson sticks with you. But if it's too strong, then your mind blocks it out, and then you don't learn from it. So that there's a sort of a fine line. There's a knife edge that can sort of go either way. But the 2 things that really sort of traumatic memories that stick with me is the Challenger space shuttle disaster and 9/11. Watching those planes fly into the Twin Towers, that stuck with me. And it was one of those things that I watched over and over and over again because I couldn't process it.
Yeah.
And I kept watching it so I could process it. And to this day, I can't understand the mindset that would bring somebody to fly a plane full of people into a tower to destroy it. It just doesn't work for me. I don't understand the thinking, and that's why I keep replaying it, because I'm trying to understand it and I can't. And it's one of those things that's stuck with me.
Yeah. So
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I was actually in a call center when that happened, and
I was in school, and I
was
mean,
kind of-
everything starts
it was very eerie how
terrifying.
I was on a call with a customer, and there was complete silence, and I was just looking at the TV, but I wasn't looking. It's just like you're like, is this happening? Is this a dream? What's going on? And everything just got silence.
Well, my first take on that one was I woke up to it. It was like, because of the time difference, it had been happening overnight here in Australia, and I woke up to it, and one of the towers was already burning, and I was watching the TV, and it was live coverage, and then the second plane went in, and I'm like, the fuck, what is going on? What is going on here? What have I woken up to? And that whole day, I just couldn't do any work because I kept, I went onto the internet and I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Those things that make that shake your sense of reality.
Yeah,
that's how bad and traumatic is that act of terrorism. It's just like, is this real? Like, it makes you question if what you're feeling and your perception of everything is accurate. You just don't believe it.
It was like, I originally thought, was this something from a movie? Is like, they're showing something, but it said live, and I'm
That's
like,
how I felt.
You know how they do these sort of things where in the movie, it's just live coverage in the movie. It's got to be a movie. This can't be real. It's got to be a movie.
That's how I felt.
Nope, it's real.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to be evacuated. It was extremely scary.
Were you near? Or it was just one of those places? Because I remember there were evacuating places.
I lived in San Francisco, and supposed to go from New York to San Francisco. And I think this was before they knew it had crashed or something. But we had to be evacuated because my elementary school at the time is right next to a lot of famous buildings and
It always went in lockdown, if
all
I'm not
those
mistaken.
things in San Francisco, and we had to be evacuated. It was during not Fleet Week, but it's like December is in San Francisco, where the Air Force puts on a show for airplanes, so you had all the military airplanes in the city, and my school is like right you see it from Pier 39. And what you see is like these military airplanes just flying overhead, and lots of them securing the airspace. And they got extremely close to her. They're flying right above it. The sound was terrifying. And then the teachers, well, we know there's an airplane headed, and you kids are just happen to be under one of the most famous lakes. You got to go. And we had to be evacuated. It was terrible.
Wow. Okay, so I think I gotta elevate the tone of the podcast.
Yeah, well, we've wandered a little.
I'm sure I speak for everyone that this was a traumatic event for everyone.
Yes.
Regardless of where you were at the moment. So going back to the question, I guess my favorite scene in this movie was right before, well, not right before, but before when Ella just went into to commit suicide, if that's what it was, to save the planet, and where he's actually looking at this cave. It looks like a rivet cave, and you could see through his gun, because he's pointing the gun at the opening of the cave, which is very reminiscent to Alien. Well, actually, Aliens, the movie Aliens, when they were looking at that little thing and you see all the aliens popping up on the little screen. So, and his gun,
they're in the room, man. They're in the room.
Exactly. So in this gun, you see them, a lot of them in there. It's like, holy crap. What's it going to happen? And when they start coming up and he starts shooting, why I find that to be the most impressive to me out of the movie, and one scene that I like, is the fact that, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I look for things that are sci-fi and yet not. And this one over here, it's a straight up Western, where you would actually see him, shooting a gun, but except this is a laser or whatever that was, or plasma gun, and he's just shooting nonstop, and they're just dropping and dropping, and it was very tense to me, because there's scenes where they even got close enough to him where he had to shoot up. So it was like a Western yet sci-fi, and I love that in every movie. Not necessarily because it was Western, but because it was a sci-fi.
It's what
with
I call a
something
Rambo
else.
moment.
Yes.
It's like, die, all of you. I don't care.
It's a complete action scene
Overpowered.
that it was a Western and a sci-fi at the same time, and I love that.
And it's also quintessential of Jake's character, in that pretty much anybody else would have run away, would have gone, oh shit, they're coming, and turned around and run. And he went, nope, I have this thing here. I'm going to hold the line. And he sort of looks at it and he goes, is this going to be enough? There's so many of them coming. Can I do it? And he's like, nope, I'm going to do it.
No, he was like Jack Sparrow.
Have to happen.
Jar.
It's going to have to happen.
Do you think there was a little bit of vengeance in there? I mean, I couldn't tell in his face, but then again,
hell yeah,
in the heat of the moment,
he was leaning into it. He was like, yeah, let's get these bastards.
Oh yeah.
I envisioned, like, and that's why I compared the scene to a scene in Aliens, especially any of the multiple scenes, because there were many, where they had the machine guns and they're just letting it have it, just like nonstop shooting. And that's basically what happened. But him, basically the equivalent to a 6-shooter, if you think about it. Because he can't, it's not a machine gun. It was shooting fast, but it's one right after the other.
Equivalent of the old Western.
Awesome.
That's a good thing.
So yeah, this movie was a lot of fun. If you have not watched the movie and you hear us and you watch it, reach out. We're always very curious, not only to hear your thoughts on any of the topics that we talked about it here also, but did you like the movie? Do you think that it was a lot of fun? I think that you have to like Westerns to a certain extent. But if you're a sci-fi lover, strictly sci-fi, I think you can really enjoy this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And it kind of throws you in a loop, because you don't know this is actually a sci-fi movie. Like if someone would just play this movie for you, and you never read the description, if you never read the name of the movie, and someone just plays it for you, you don't realize you're watching a sci-fi until 30 movies pass the beginning, when the ship is attacking the town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not really, because when you look at it, it looks like, because prior to that, you have what is it, Dollarhide come in with his posse, and you see all the flames, the open flames they were carrying. So when the ship was coming after they already got to the town, it was very similar. When you at the beginning, it kind of looks like another posse was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, whoa, it just went south really fast.
Well, you got a hint of it earlier because the scene where the guy was going to take a dump in the river, and the ship's attacked, and he got blasted into the river, and he climbs out of the river, and all of the cows are shot up and have big melted holes in them, and the trees are burning, and the guys are missing, and he's like, the guy who survives, like, what the hell just happened? And then Dollarhide rocks up and it's torturing him.
It's like, what the heck did I eat
between
today?
two horses? And he's like, you expect me to believe it? And he's like, I don't know what happened. I just was taking a dump and I got blown in the river and I climbed up and and he's like, you expect me to believe that? You sold my cattle and you killed some of them and you did this and you did that. Because Dollarhide's a very sort of like, he likes to parcel out blame for things, and everything is his point of view.
I mean, come on, anybody would think the same thing. It's like, this is bullshitting me just to keep the fucking cattle.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, there's unexplained things and unexplainable things, and he's trying to explain them by blaming them on people. But it's not really working. It's just him parceling out blame to make his worldview work. And because he's the most powerful guy around, he can do that. And it's sort of a reflection of it kind of reminded me of the GFC and how the people who were responsible for it got away with it because they parceled out blame to others. And there was a lot of people who got away with causing something and then blaming it on others and getting away from it. And then you look at what Iceland did. Iceland basically turned around and said, nope, you guys are to blame, go to jail. And that's all there was to it. They didn't let anybody weasel their way out of it, whereas in the rest of the Western world, a lot of people got away with it, a lot of people got bailed out.
I still think that this was Han Solo retiring, you know, after he just went to retire in the past. That's it, you know. Thank you for my TED Talk. Okay, we lost Ray.
I know. Remember, Han Solo went to he became a roadrunner. A net runner, right?
Yeah, and then he met, you know, James Bond, Agents 007, and you know, so
Took it to
happened
that
the lady from, you know, the creatures from Tron sent the lady over, you know, and but Galaxy Quest couldn't be left behind, so they send, you know, Guy over.
Okay, you just put SciFi in a blender.
They lent into all of that stuff.
No, he just put SciFi in a blender and throw some Clint Eastwood into it.
Yeah, this is how much fun this movie is. So
if you have not seen this movie, you should not be listening to this podcast because we spoil the crap out of everything. But if you have not seen this movie, go ahead and watch it.
Yes, please.
But you have to use your brain. It's not a popcorn movie. You have to actually think about it. The number of reviews, like I'm always Googling while we're watching this to pick up on things and introduce them into the conversation. But the number of people that said, unfortunately, the story is not really well written. I disagree. The story is not meant for people who need to be spoon-fed. And that's why people who are used to being spoon-fed say the story is not well written. I disagree. My argument is the story is written for people who can think for themselves, and if you can't, you won't get it.
True.
This story is really well written, and this is why people who are used to being spoon-fed will not get it, because they have to think about it. Sorry, you've got to use your brain for this movie. So if you have an ounce of intelligence and can think for yourself, and like sci-fi and westerns, you will get this movie and you will love it.
Don't
It
be
is
a
good
bully to
movie.
brainless people, man.
But yes, it's a niche movie.
I do have another perspective to that too.
A movie.
If you if you don't if you are into fun movies, like sci-fi or not, if you don't, you can really enjoy this movie too. This movie is just plain fun if you look at it in that aspect. But yeah, the story is well written. I think this movie caters to a lot of people. So it surprises me to hear, like things like what you just read, that someone said that the story is not well written. This movie is like well rounded. If
The
from my
correction is that
personal
the review
perspective.
is not well written, and the movie is
Well,
not well watched.
I can tell you why this is a good Western. All right. There's two things that jumped out at me when I saw them that tells me this is a good Western, right? The first one is when no, I can't remember if it was Dollarhide or somebody else, but somebody says to the kid, make sure that your canteen is full.
Okay.
Now, do you get why that statement makes this a good Western?
Yeah.
Because they're reminding him that the place is dangerous. You leave town and you're in danger just from the elements. Make sure your canteen is full. And the second scene is when he comes, when they come running, Dollarhide and Jake come running out of the cave when the ship is taking off, and Jake's hat gets blown off, and he reaches down and grabs the hat and keeps running. Now, normally
It's so important.
the hat is important. Now, we know from Indiana Jones that the hat is important because he's always grabbing his hat.
Yeah.
But that a hat is important when you're out in the elements. And he knows he's got to hang on to his hat because it's important to keep him alive. Keeps the rain off your face, keeps the sun off your face. You get badly sunburned, you die.
Yeah, but if I get blown up before that because I was bad, you die. You can get another hat or make one.
Okay.
You can't necessarily. You're out in the wilderness.
I have to take this opportunity to thank AJ to be on this podcast with us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and I hope we did not scare you, that you can come back for another.
No.
Awesome. So
Yes, hopefully in the future.
awesome.
Oh, I thought that you were just laughing, saying, "No, I'm not coming back."
No, you didn't scare me. Bye.
Like, no.
The aliens are taking me. I'm sorry. I thought I told you guys.
That's quite all right. So before you go ahead and tell our audience once more
Where they can
what
find
is your
you.
podcast about and where they can find you.
So yeah, I am again half of the podcast is Spooky Tales, and we cover pretty much anything having to do with Latin America, folklore, mythology, true crime, etc. You can find us anywhere you stream your podcasts. Just look for E in front of Spooky, Spooky Tales, and you can find us on all our socials. My co-host does amazing TikToks. So we're on TikTok, Instagram, we're on Facebook, but we don't really do it. And Twitter, obviously. I think that's where I spend most of my time. Or you can visit our website and go to spookytales.com. And I hope you guys enjoy. It's a little bit of paranormal. It's not safe for work and not family friendly. We do swear a lot, and we do cover very heavy topics sometimes that are not for everyone.
So you can already, if you're watching the video, you can see Gio's face lit up. So
Surprisingly enough, I'm was the only one that cursed in this.
So
I can curse quite a lot. Two things before you go, MJ. The first one is that people, there's been research that says that people who swear a lot are more trustworthy than people who don't. And I come from Australia, so we're all
I don't trust you,
trustworthy.
Robert. I don't trust you,
well,
Robert.
I swear like there's
Robert doesn't curse.
Yeah, exactly. And the second thing is go watch the movie The Hidden, and maybe you can come back and do that one with us because I think you'll like it.
awesome.
All right, I
So,
will add that to my to be watch list.
And to all our listeners, I encourage you to go and download Spooky Tales.
Yes.
I'll be checking it out.
Yes. So go ahead. I mean, even if you want to stop
Mhm.
us right now and just go download it and come back to us, I wouldn't mind. I would not be upset. So go ahead and pick up Spooky
They'll
Tales.
be back. They'll be back.
Awesome. NJ, thank you so much for being with us. And we look forward to having you on another episode.
And thank you for having me.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Okay, so should we go to the next segment?
I'm good to roll into the next segment. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, MJ, and see you later. Okay, so I'm sorry, you said, should we go to the next?
Yep. Go for it.
The science in sci-fi.
Okay. Well, my job's pretty hard this week because cowboy technology is like ancient history, and
45 with a microchip.
Alien technology doesn't really mesh particularly well with human technology. So what I thought I would bring up today is more about the science of warfare. And it's this particular science of warfare is asymmetric warfare. So do you guys know what asymmetric warfare is?
No.
No.
Okay, so asymmetric warfare is basically warfare where the two sides are not equivalent, which is like generally America and everybody else that they've fought in the last few decades. But asymmetric warfare is basically when you've got to fight somebody who's either technologically or numbers wise way stronger than you are.
Okay.
So basically you can't fight the enemy face-to-face one-on-one. You've got to find a way to get around that. That's asymmetric warfare. So obviously in this movie the aliens were way stronger than the humans.
Basically Spartans. 300.
Yeah, basically. That's asymmetric warfare as well. But basically, in asymmetric warfare, you cannot go head-to-head. You will fail. So you've got to find another way to do it. And oftentimes, you're going to sacrifice part of your force in a delaying tactic or in a distracting tactic while you enact your plan to get around them. And obviously, self-sacrifice is a big part of asymmetric warfare in that you're sacrificing part or at least portions of your force to achieve the goal, which is to win. And you can see that in this movie in that yes, Pussycat, I know, I'm almost done. I don't call him a pussycat. I call him a pussycat because he's very vocal. In fact, I'll just leave him out 1 second. Because he's just going to sit there and meow at me. Where are you going? Okay. There, he's out of the room now. All right. So, obviously, the guys who were originally the brigands, the outlaws, they were somewhat sacrificed to draw out the aliens so that they could have a crack at them, and they had to draw They were the bait. They had to draw out the aliens, and they were going to take losses to distract the aliens while Jake and Ella snuck in and rescued the people who were kidnapped. And that was Dollarhide's requirement, but also Ella knew that she was the only one who could deal with this threat to Earth by sacrificing herself and blowing the ship up. And that is the basis of asymmetric warfare. You make sacrifices, and you fool the enemy and then take them out.
Now, let me make an observation that I didn't get to do before in the show, that it was very nicely laid out, Factor, is that it doesn't matter as a race how many enemies, factions we have. When we have a common enemy, we unite. Because the Indians, the Angers, and then the other guys were all enemies, but they fought all together against a common enemy, like one.
It was very neatly summed up when Jake went off to get the Outlaws' help. Obviously, the Outlaws weren't going to normally listen to him because he'd basically taken the money that they'd stolen and buggered off on them.
Yep.
Go and start a new life with the whore, as she was called, when he came back. But he went to them and he basically said, well, what are you guys going to do? There's these demons and they're going to kill everybody. And two of the guys were already planning to bug out, and they said, oh, we're going to go, hundreds of miles down that way. There's, a good place on the coast. They've got the booze and the women, and you can have a good time if you've got money. We want our part of the money. That's where we're going. And Jake basically said, you can't run far enough. That's not far enough. Nowhere is far enough. If these guys get away, if these guys go back and get the rest of their ilk, everybody is dead. It doesn't matter where you go. They will destroy everything and everyone. The only thing you can do is fight back. You have to come with me and help take these guys out because you cannot run far enough. You'll be okay for a little while and then you'll be dead just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's no hiding from these guys.
And that's what convinced them to fight and die, because they knew they were going to die anyway if they didn't.
Yeah.
The only chance was to fight.
And honestly, who wouldn't? Like, I'd rather die fighting than die running.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth.
The difference between dying fighting and dying running is that if you die running, you're going to die tired.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference.
And fighting, you still have a chance that you might not die.
That's right.
You get to put your 2 cents into the final outcome when you fight. When you run, you're just delaying the outcome that is sure to be happen.
And you die tired. And I think that Robert's dying tired at the moment. He's checking out. His brain's checked out.
Well, I had a really, it's a Monday for me. And typically Mondays are really hard at the office, so that's all.
Yeah, I have.
So you go to bed tired.
Yeah,
it's not the same like MJ. Just like MJ, I have to book as well. So that's basically all I had from this one, because there wasn't really anything I could pull from this that might have, affected science per se. But the science of warfare and asymmetric warfare is an interesting one to bring up, in that it happens a lot, and oftentimes the guys who are weaker, who are technologically or force array weaker, usually fail, usually lose.
Mm-hmm.
But the underdog in stories like this are the ones we want to see win, and we did see them win, so that was enjoyable. Yeah,
but Jake lost 2 women.
Jake lost a lot. Yes.
Still missing the third one, the charmer.
So what did we learn from this, boys? I can't say boys and girls because MJ has left, but what we learned was don't be a woman in a war zone.
Going after Jake. That's
Yeah.
the point. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be the bad boy MC's squeeze, because you're likely to get squeezed out.
It's the only way to hurt
Awesome.
him.
Exactly.
Oh, great. So any final thoughts before we close out?
This is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. I don't understand why
I agree.
it did not do well.
That eludes me. It's so much fun. Even if you watch it as just plain out Western, it's just so much fun.
I think it was too highbrow. I think it wasn't popcorny enough. That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
But it's like Inception. Inception is the same thing. Like, it's too brainy, and like most people I know, they don't like it, or they didn't understand it. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Or Tenet.
Yeah.
Or Interstellar. Like, most people that I know, like, they don't dig into those movies, and I cannot stop watching. I watched each of those movies more than 25, 30 times.
Exactly.
And I continue to rewatch them. That's how much I like them.
Awesome. So if you heard this podcast prior to watching the movie, I like to think that although we give you spoilers like crazy, we talk so much about the topics within that, I like to think that we don't spoil you too much.
Yep.
But that's just my wishful thinking.
Yeah, very wishful
But
thinking.
honestly, common sense is you should have watched it before we started.
Yeah, you should know by now. But we are very curious to know what you think. So reach out to us on Twitter or Discord. Remember, we're trying to grow the Discord channel. And then let's have that conversation. Let's see what you guys think. Did you guys find it surprising that you never heard of this movie before? Did you find it surprising that you are the only one that have seen this movie? And do you agree with any of the topics that we talked about here? Let's get the conversation going. So I want to say thank you so much. And we really appreciate not only the engagement that we have had so far, but also, you guys listening to us and enjoying this as much as we enjoy talking about sci-fi. So I'm not going to speak for the crew here. I can let everyone else here say, but I can say, I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you so much for the ratings and for the engagement and for listening to us.
Ray didn't say anything, but I say the same thing.
Come talk sci-fi with us. We love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.